by the time you hear this, my first class subscribers will have had access to this for a few days, probably around a week. My business class subscribers will have had access to this maybe 2 or 3 days. You will be getting this around the end of the week, more than likely. And at the time I'm recording this, it's several days before most of you on YouTube here. You, my first class subscribers, are probably going to hear this before nightfall your time, the day that I'm recording, which is the 26th of April. In business class, you might be hearing this one about the 28th or the 29th. On YouTube, you will hear this either the 30th or the first day of May, maybe the second day if I forget. I already uploaded for you YouTubers a few days ago now. It's a few hours ago for me as I'm recording this. I uploaded about the prevention. And it's not just to prevent what Shannon Sharpe has to face, but it is about preventing that which, honestly, it's about preventing more than that. It's about preventing pretty much all of this stuff in general that we've had to deal with. And we've had to deal with a lot. We need a lot of prevention. And in that upload, I said pretty much that the prevention is actually the same as the solution. But, when you apply this prevention before stuff goes wrong, it's really better at prevention than it is at a solution. And shout out to Lionel MGTOW, who says that prevention is better than cure. He's not the one to make that up at all, but he consistently reminds us that prevention is better than cure. He is welcome to pick the prevention I have advocated. He currently would rather stick to the 10 Commandments. On this side of the grave, that's a very good start. I'm not going to call it the finish line, but he generously and kindly reminds us that prevention's better than cure. It's better to just keep things simple beforehand and plan ahead for simplicity than it is to try to fix the BS later on, because you can't. With that being said, my people, allow me to tell you guys that the Muslims have killed me. And it has not been because they're Muslim. It has been because they have not gone by the rules. Cultural Muslims, what I call minnows, Muslims in name only. Ethnic Muslims, those who just see Islam as the religion of their ethnicity. So, they don't really fast Ramadan, but they'll act like they do. They celebrate Eid. They'll probably pray when someone's born and when someone's dead. And that's the gist of it. The women might put a hijab on if somebody recites Quran nearby. That type stuff. These guys have really killed me. And some are going to say, well, what about black Muslims? And I know what they mean is African American Muslims and African Muslims, not necessarily NOI. NOI didn't get the chance. They're not involved with this. I mean, there are certain things they did that demoralized me when I was younger. That was before I actually became a Muslim. And I wasn't in the NOI. I didn't have to go through a stage or a phase of bean pies and bow ties. That was never necessary. It was always, for me, from the time that I said the Shahada the first time, it was, there is no deity to worship except Allah, and Muhammad ibn Abdullah is his slave, servant, and messenger. And that's it. But from that time, African American Muslims who I have listened to and who I bonded with have both uplifted and killed me. And they have not killed me really through negligence, but more so through what they didn't know. Ignorance and stuff they just didn't know. Things they just didn't know about. They couldn't tell me any better than what they told me. So I don't say that what they did was maleficent or malevolent, let alone, hell, it wasn't even reckless, let alone malevolent. It wasn't like they just didn't care at all. It was more like they didn't know certain things. And this is a dangerous thing to say, because the stereotype of the African American is that they don't really know. Well, it wasn't that these guys didn't know anything about the religion. It's that they didn't know what we all need to know as black people. The real ignorance about Islam that is prevalent amongst our people is not about the bare basics of Islam. It is about its applications as preventions to what we face. And that's only some things. But those things are important. The Muslims from India killed me with these notions and these expectations that we were going to act like them. Why don't you put on the shalwar kameez? Because, ninja, it's not my dress. The Muslims from Pakistan were really into that stuff because they would outright just say, listen, you have to put your race and your people behind your religion. You got to put the religion above the concerns that your race and your people have. And then when we would say, yeah, but that means you have to do the same thing, they'd say, well, sometimes you just have to follow culture. No, ninja, sometimes you don't. Imagine an old Pakistani man with a big old beard who thinks that children are naturally drawn to him because he's wearing a Pakistani garment, an outfit. That gives him some kind of spiritual power that just draws in pure, innocent children to him. And that's why they feel comfortable walking up and hugging him. I remember when my daughter, who was a baby at the time, walked up and started staring up at him. And I knew what it was. He looked like my dad, but with a bigger beard. I mean, phenotypically. She had met my father. She knew that somehow, though she wasn't talking at that age, she knew that my dad was related to me. She actually was more comfortable with my dad than she was with me. And then there's this man that sort of looks like my dad, but with a bigger beard and different clothes on. Doesn't sound like him. And he talked and he said, oh, mashallah, she likes me. And I was like, yes, sir. And he signaled to ask if he could pick her up. And I said, sure, she doesn't mind, I don't mind. So he picked her up and held her. She was very calm, just looking. And then I told him, I said, you look familiar to her, sir. And he said, oh, no, it's because I'm dressing in sunnah. Sunnah? Sunnah means that you're dressing in a specific way that Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace and prayers be to his account, would wear. You're wearing Pakistani cultural clothes, not something that the Prophet specifically wore. It is maybe a sunnah of the Muslims, but it's not a sunnah of a specific prophet of which we know. So let's not play games here. Your culture is not holy. And then later on, this man came along and it was like, make dua for me. My daughter's looking to get married, or I'm looking for a husband for my daughter. And I was like, okay, I mean, sure, I'll ask Allah to make it easy for you. And then the next time I saw him, I said, sir, has anything come about? And he said, no, it's going to take a while because we are from a special tribe in Pakistan. And when I looked at him, I raised my eyebrows as if to say, yeah, and keep talking. I even did the hand signal as if to say, keep going. And he said, well, sometimes you have to follow the culture. That's what he said. So I said to him, listen, I'm not asking Allah to satisfy that requirement, sir. Because imagine a black man saying, well, for me to marry a woman, she got to be black. They don't like that. Now, they may say to you, you should marry a black woman, but they don't want you saying that you'll only marry a black woman because that sounds racist when you say it. It doesn't sound racist to them when they say, hey, you should marry a black woman. In other words, please leave our women alone and don't make us any darker than what we already are. Man, you're our brother in Islam, but nigger. That's what that's what they're saying from a subconscious pro-white supremacist standpoint. And so when this man said this, that was why my answer to him was, I will not ask God to satisfy that particular requirement. I don't respect it. Why should I respect that requirement? You're stupid for having it. You're standing here in the States, in the land, in a country that my ancestors built at gunpoint, and for which they fought for your right to enter and live, and telling me that it's okay for you to have these tribalistic requirements that the religion actually forbade you from imposing upon your children. You can choose this for yourself in terms of marriage, but you're not allowed to impose this upon your children. And you know damn well, because there's not been one Pakistani or Arab, especially Pakistani, that is understood when I say that my daughters are not allowed to marry any men from their backgrounds unless they're black men from the same nationalities. You got black Pakistanis, they're rare, but you got them. That's an exception. They're black. And if they got that self-hatred, they can't marry my daughters. But for me to sit up and say this, even though I have every right to say it, turns you against me. But then when you say you should only marry somebody black, oh, so what? When you say you should only marry somebody black, I'm not supposed to say a mother cuss word thing about it. What if that girl or young lady whose family is from Pakistan, and they're actually successful, and they're doing well in life, and you know what? Her breath smells good too, on average. Wants to marry me or wants to marry my son, and we're like, yeah, let's talk to an imam, and the dad steps in, no, we're not doing that. Okay, what's the reason? If there's something wrong with the man trying to marry her and you know about it, speak on it. But if it's about the background that he doesn't come from, no, you don't have that right to impose that on your daughter. That's up to her to decide. You need to fuck the shuck up. You need to close your father-mucking mouth. Yeah, those of you that follow that, you killed me. Not so much because of what you did or said specifically to me or against me, but because of things that you said or did specifically regarding my people. And when you acted this way and talked this way, you led to some folks from amongst my people, after having subscribed to the prevention and the solution, leaving it because you convinced them that it wasn't actually the solution, let alone the prevention. You convinced them that it can't possibly be true. That's on you as well as it is on those whom I knew that left. Because you played a part in it. Even if they left because they really wanted that whiskey, you still convinced them that the instructions we had contained nothing that would have made it worth them giving up the whiskey. You killed me. You, the Arabs that look up to whites, look down on us, you also killed me. See, I can't sit up here and say that African Muslims killed me inside like this. I can't say that. I can't say that Muslims from the Caribbean killed me on the inside. I'd be lying if I said that. They weren't the problem. Sometimes they didn't know a lot. Sometimes they did, but they weren't the damn problem. Sometimes some African Americans were, on occasion. And they participated in killing me slowly too, even though they weren't trying to do it. They still did. I'm not going to lie and tell you they didn't do it. It just wasn't what they were trying to do, but they did. They also murdered me. They did some things to my heart. I'm telling you now, folks, those of you that practice the Arab culture above Islam also killed me. The ways that you killed me were, number one, you turned around and as you elevated your culture above Islam, and we turned around and took certain things of our culture and wanted to keep them because they were okay, you showed outright hypocrisy, not hostility and hatred most of the time. That had to be provoked, but it was easily provoked by some of us. I mean, it didn't take much for us to provoke that hostility and hatred, but let some white guy come in with aggression and you were like, listen, let's sit down, have some tea and talk about this, and then you try to give him doubt. Well, he doesn't know, so we're going to show him how we really are. Okay, you can show him that after you let him know that if he gets aggressive, you're going to pummel him. Not come hiding behind us African Americans that are on the security team, but that you yourself are going to pummel him. And most of y'all weren't scared to fight, but they thought you were. Now you got some of these white dudes coming in to the masajid, openly and proudly wearing White Lives Matter t-shirts. Like, what? What's the problem? I'm here to pray. Saying this dumb stuff, when in reality, what they're trying to do is bring their white supremacy into Islam with them, and you ain't stopping them. But let us walk into the masjid with a Black Lives Matter t-shirt on. You could be from Yemen, just as black as one of us, with hair half as nappy, and you'll come talk about you might defend some of our white brothers. Man, get the F out of my face. Our real white brothers that are actually our brothers ain't a problem. The ones that are actually a problem, I don't need to tell you about them. The ones that are actually a problem are the ones walking in with the White Lives Matter t-shirts on. Talking all this crazy stuff. Well, I'm white. I can't say that and get away with it. And guess what? I'm black and Muslim. There's certain things I can't say and get away with. You can say that the people in Iraq have the right to defend themselves from foreign invasion. You could say that. I can't say that. I can't say it, one, because I'm Muslim, two, because I'm black. And as a matter of fact, you're white, and if you said something like that, you would get in trouble for what they call treachery because you come from a society that does not allow this sort of thing, especially equality. And that's why you would face this. That's the reason. Some of you Arabs legitimizing and normalizing whiteness like it's okay because it's white. Some of you Arabs, you didn't think twice about the fact that you were putting your religion after your backwards culture, just like everyone else's is backwards. You didn't even think about that. You didn't think about how you were hurting the same people who had fought for your right to immigrate into the United States and live there as long as you obeyed the rules. Didn't think anything about it. And I saw when I would meet some of you that were store owners. And I said, yeah, man, how you doing? Assalamu alaikum. How are you? Doing okay, brother. African-American guy walks in and he knows you. Hey, what's good, man? Hey, buddy, how are you? And then you turn and whisper to me, a loser. Wait a minute, what do you mean he's a loser? Do you know him? You called him a loser. Do you know this guy? Y'all got some kind of history or something? And you just casually say it because you don't know that I'm black. And you kind of know the guy, but then when I ask you in depth, you don't really know him that well and you admit it. Or the principal of a Muslim school where I worked saw an African American speak to me, and I couldn't see him very well. I don't know where he knew me from. I looked up because he was standing at the top of a ledge. I looked up, wa alaikum salam. I couldn't see who he was, though, because of the glare behind him. And the principal going to say, you know who you are if you hear this. Oh, I'm so sad to see the youth lost. Oh, you know him? Because I couldn't see who he was. Can you tell me his name? I don't know him. So you don't know him, but it breaks your heart to see the youth lost. All you saw was a young black youth. And you got the nerve to later on pull every black teacher you got in the office to tell me, well, brother black, I don't know what you consider yourself to be, so it's not about race, but we have told you not to discipline the children. I don't fivaguk what you told me. I'm going to discipline they butts because you're going to blame me if they act up. I should have grabbed one of them and punched him in his nose. I never did anything that outrageous. But you're going to pull in every black teacher to tell me you don't know what I count myself to be racially. What I count myself, it's in the DNA, dummy. It's in my parents' old passports. It's in my granddad's grandmother who was born in bondage. The hell do you mean? And the fact that y'all sat there and normalized this stuff is what made it even worse. And that's not all either. As you normalize this sort of thing to make it even worse, how about a doctor, very successful, wealthy doctor in Atlanta, who sat up on the member or the pulpit of one of the bigger masajid in the Atlanta area and praised the founding fathers despite their slave owning while they were trying to espouse principles of freedom for everybody that wasn't African. Because by the time that the United States began to be, or even started to think about being a country, racial discrimination was already there. Not just class-based, but racial. And he's just going to sit up and praise them. Oh, it's okay what Thomas Jefferson did. No, the hell it wasn't. In Islam, we believe that a female slave could be a concubine. But did Thomas Jefferson believe that? Well, if he did, and he was Muslim, he should have come out and said it instead of just hiding his little copy of his Quran in his library. No, come out and say it. Otherwise, by your own rules, Thomas Jefferson, you just cheating on your wife with a 14-year-old girl, which is exactly what you would never tolerate somebody doing to your daughter, even if your daughter was owned by him. And you know who you are, Dr. So-and-so. You killed us inside when you sat there and said this stuff. And when the other doctor, originally from Pakistan, called you on it, instead of saying, oh, damn, I screwed up, I forgot, you were like, no, I'm right for doing it. No, the F you weren't. Why don't you just give us the badge number of whoever visited you and told you to do something like that and tell us how much they paid you? What do they have on you? You killed us because you not only looked up to white like it was okay, you try to tell everybody, you try to get people consciously to think the same way you do. No, screw that. And screw your worldview. I'm not going to sit up here and say that I want black men to waste our DNA in your community per se, but exactly the men you don't want your daughters to marry. Struggling black Muslims with hair so nappy it looks like ground up taco meat, with names you can't pronounce, who speak Arabic and it sounds like some out of a Tarzan movie, are the ones that you should have as sons-in-law. The only reason I'm not going to sit up and say and tell your daughters to marry only someone like that is because I don't want that bad deal for those black men. I don't want them to have you as dads-in-law, nigga. And to make matters worse, because of the stuff you did, collectively you and your communities, which are sellout asses, a lot of African Americans did not learn what we needed to know. We got the prevention, we got the solution, but we didn't learn what we needed to know because you sat on it and hid it. I'm coming to realize that many of you knew damn well who was responsible for white supremacy, and you still subscribe to it. You just were willing to protect the devil himself to maintain white supremacy instead of driving him out with the right remembrances to recite in the verses, because you didn't want to wind up at the bottom. You were hoping your little microaggressions would drive black folks away, whether they were African from the continent or from the Caribbean or from North America or from South America or Central America. You were hoping for that. Or even from your own countries. You were hoping for that. That's who you are. That's how you are. And because of this ignorance, the resulting ignorance about the specific parts that we needed to know the most as black folks from any country, certainly from the Americas, when I would turn around and try to get advice from African-American Muslims on how to sidestep some of these financial tests and other tests that came our way, they'd just be like, they just throw some Arabic out there with Allah's name in it somewhere, and then go into some long nigga diatribe about who Allah is, as if to tie Allah's very identity itself to black suffering. Like that's just what we're supposed to go through because we black and we Muslim. You created this idea by default, by negligence, and sometimes complicit or explicitly. And a lot of black folks didn't know anything else, and so they thought, well, you know what? Yeah, I guess the reason for us being here is to suffer. Now, we have it explicitly told to us in the Quran that the purpose of mankind's creation and the jinn's creation is also the reason we have free will, which is to worship. But you turned around and let black folks, or told black folks, to confuse the worship with the suffering. Like, nigga, you ain't worshiping if you don't suffer. And when I saw black folk who should have been sources of advice for me not know stuff that I had to try to figure out on my mother cuss word on later on, I realized you were behind it. Because you see, if somebody gets up and they can't stand Palestinians, the only ethnic bias they got is against Palestinians or against Arabs or against Pakistanis, then you would say that that's certainly satanic. Because you're tying these groups' ethnicities to Islam. No matter how many Pakistanis are Christian, and they do exist as a minority, no matter how many Palestinians are Christian, and they do exist as a minority. You're tying in any Arab ethnicity and Pakistani nationality to Islam itself as a guarantee. You're doing that. And you say that to hate such groups of people is a satanic idea. Let someone come along and say, I can't stand these damn niggas with their big lips, wide noses, nappy 4C hair, and dark skin. And I damn sure can't stand it when they speak them African languages with their big lips. You might say, well, in Islam, everybody's equal. But yeah, I know what you mean. And this is the part that other black folks that are Muslim or not don't realize about you behind closed doors, but I know. And so even when the black Muslims participated in some of the dumb, negligent, stupid stuff that killed me inside, you were still behind that. This is why I say, not what Abu Bara Muhammad al-Amriki says. I don't say what he said. He attacks you for your racism, but he doesn't call your faith into question because of it. I say what Bilal of the Feature said. Don't tell me that there's no racism in Islam. Screw you. Damn you to hell. I'm telling you there's no Islam in your racism. You side with the oppressor against the oppressed? Damn you. You were the same as Mubin Sheikh. You know what you said about him. You're the same. I could see through the rules. And early on, I knew something was missing, but I didn't know when I was going to find it. I begged God for the answer. Years before I was Muslim, I begged God for the answer. What's the correct religion, Allah? Show me. Don't just send people to tell me. I don't know when they lying. People lie. Show me. He showed me about 96, I believe. And then let me understand what he showed me in early 2002. So I just finished my 23rd year being Muslim. But then after that, I had to ask God, show me what's missing here, because you're not racist, but why are all these Muslims racist? And what is the right way to fight these niggas? And then it dawned on me years later. They can talk about defying Shaitan all they want to. As soon as Shaitan comes with that white supremacy, you niggas listened. That's why I'm calling you niggas. You listened to him. He could tell you to fornicate all your life. You might only listen twice and repent. He tells you white is right and black is to be oppressed, and you don't ever question that. And never repent. Even though that is a fundamental issue of Aqidah, yes, it is. So I'm the one sitting up and saying, right, with all of the features, no, call your faith into question. How are you still Muslim if you have these ideas, even subconsciously? How are you still Muslim? My answer is, if you admit that this bias is wrong and you still have it, and you're fighting it, then you're Muslim with a flaw and a defect. But if you don't even admit that you're wrong for having this bias, or you try to blame it on us or exonerate white folk, yes, just exonerating the collective of Western white Europeans makes you a disbeliever as far as I'm concerned, because you're saying that wrong is right and right is wrong. And that's a fundamental issue of Aqidah, of belief. If that is enough, changing the categories of right and wrong is enough to make me a disbeliever, it's enough to make you one too. And you do it when it comes to race. Oh, it's not so bad when white folks do it. And that's because deep down, you have one of the same fears that some of the white nationalists have. A fear of being made darker over time. And if you fear that, if you fear dark skin of your grandchildren more than you fear God, and you fear to disobey Allah's commands, then damn you, unless you repent. Damn you until you repent. Because there are parts of me that you killed and they ain't coming back to life. Moving here has stopped other parts of me from dying. But the parts of me you killed still have scar tissue. And this is part I had to realize that part of the reason I lost some fear of death. I fear the pain of death, but I don't actually fear the loss of consciousness to this world. And I used to think, well, I'm not the most or the least faithful person on the planet. I'm not the most or the least pious of all the Muslims. I'm not the foremost nor the most behind, neither one. So what is the real deal? Why is it that I have lost this sort of, this fear? And it dawned on me it's because I already died having to deal with you all them years in America. And sometimes having to deal with the likes of you over here, not always citizens either. I ain't always talking about, a lot of times I ain't talking about them. Most of them ain't that bad about taking correction. But you niggas. Funny thing is, a lot of you, when you do move here to the Gulf and you're not treated that damn well, all of a sudden we brothers. No, nigga, screw you. Because in the States, when Massa treats you a little bit better, as long as you crap on us, you crap on us. I call your very faith into question. How are you still Muslim? Because when you start to justify this like it's not racism, I think you're not. And if you can see the satanic influence, if somebody's racist against Arabs or racist against an ethnicity within the linguistic group of Arabs or racist against Pakistanis, which are really more so ethnic and national biases than they are racial. But that's enough for you to see the satanic influence. Then damn it, you knew it was a satanic influence when you witnessed bias or felt bias against black people, or even South Indians for that matter. But you know what? I'm going to let them defend themselves because they have more than the numbers and they're capable to do it. Plus, they probably want to defend themselves instead of me defending them. For now. You participated right along with the white supremacists from Western Europe in making color so damn unduly important in this world on an international scale. That's why I call you niggas. As much as I get on this woman, Gabriella, for the shakedown she's attempting of Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sure that that's what it is. Because one thing I can tell about Shannon Sharpe when he talks, it's not his conscience that's bothering him, even though it should just for the fornication of it. He doesn't see that as wrong. So it's not his conscience that's bothering him. That means what she's saying he did wasn't the case. As much as I get on Gabriella, though, as much as I do, I'm getting on you worse because you niggas are the real zoo niggas. Those of you coming out of these ethnic groups that actually practice your religion, our religion first, above the culture, have been done a great disservice and injustice by the others of your ethnicity that refuse to do so because they talk about you like a dog. Oh yeah, you're Arab and you put Islam above the Arab culture, the others talk about you. They're just waiting on you to do something so they can report you to whatever authorities because they want you locked up in some of the most secret prisons, never to be seen again because they wish you were gone. They don't care if somebody unfairly executes you, capitally punishes you, and you ain't done nothing to harm nobody. You're just putting the religion above the culture. If you're Pakistani and you put the religion above the culture, did you know how your people talk about you? Probably know. But you've been done a great disservice. And I'm saying this to let you know that we and you actually have the same enemies. I'm not going to go much further than that. Bilal will tell you how Islamophobia and white supremacy go hand in hand. He's already told you. Abdullah the Luxi has been a guest and he's already spent hours on a live with Bilal telling you that. And there are a whole bunch of shorts on Bilal of the Features channel telling you about this. I've done enough. I've said enough. Thank you for listening. As always, black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like in a black patriarch until extinction of Judgment Day. Again, thank you for flying with us here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase Jet Black's also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Thank you to the first class flyers, then to the business class, then to those of you who subscribe on YouTube. Gender justice forever.